How do you know if a business idea of yours is actually going to work or not? This is a really good question. I believe it came from Dewey here on the channel. Remember, you can always leave your questions down in the comments. Pretty likely I'm going to make a video on it because there's not that many people here on this life and business channel here. So first of all, my name is Kevin Espiritu. My business is called Epic Gardening. This is just my freeform channel. You really shouldn't listen to anything I say unless it makes sense to you. Trust yourself and your own intuition and judgment. Don't just take what I say and blindly follow it. Now, there's a lot of ways to answer this question, and it does depend on the type of business that you have. Earlier on the channel, I actually talked about my microgreens business and how I validated that business. So when we're talking about figuring out if there's enough demand, what you're trying to do is what's called validation, business validation. You're trying to say, is the idea I have for a business something that people actually want to pay money for? And so in my case with the microgreens, I knew intellectually speaking that the answer was yes, because microgreens are sold. So someone's doing it. So what I did is, like I said, I'm not going to rehash it too much, but I walked down the street with my samples at about 2 or 3 p.m., talked to sous chefs and said, hey, here's what I got. I can grow these many, 14, 15 different varieties on a 2-3 week lead time. You let me know. If you want to do this, here are the prices. What do you think? And we eventually did get a customer. And so the demand was validated. The second someone pays for your service or product, they have validated demand. That doesn't mean you have a successful business. You can get someone who maybe is feeling like they want to give you a little handout, or it's a friend or a family. So the purest example of demand that I personally have come up with in my own business experience is the raised beds that I sell. So what I did there is I had some in 2017. I got my first Birdie's beds, and I said, wow, I really like these things. These are things with the highest quality beds I've personally ever used. They last a long time. And I just featured them in my content. And people kept saying, what are those beds? What are those little wavy beds? What is that? I would say 10% of the comments were about that. That's your first sign of validation. If you see a hyperbolic or an asymmetric response to something that you're doing, it means there's intrigue around it. Maybe not demand, maybe not validation yet, but there's an outsized amount of intrigue around that particular thing. Okay? Listen. Your job is to listen, watch for that, see what you're doing. Especially if you're a content creator, your job really is to create content that's of value and watch and listen to the response and adapt and create better stuff based on that, or offer products based on that. And so I said, wow, really seems like this is a product that people want. So I kept messaging Birdies. I said, hey, let me sell it. Hey, let me sell it. Let me sell it. Oh, we have someone. Finally, they said, hey, we're down. Let's do it. And so what I did is I pre-purchased 20-foot container of the raised beds. And I know that's not applicable. It's kind of a lot of money. It's like the price of a car, basically. But just take the lesson. Don't take my example as the example. Take the lessons from the example and apply that to what you're thinking about. So I purchased it, and I said, hey, everyone who follows Epic Gardening, I have them now. They're coming. They'll be here in a couple months. If you want to lock them down, I only have like 600 of them. Then here's the pre-order link, and you can pre-order them, and we'll ship them out the second that we get them. What happened? Before it was halfway across the Pacific Ocean, it sold out. And so I said, that's demand validation right there. Before I have a product, it's sold out. Now that's what I would call grand slam or home run level validation, where you don't have the product and it's already sold out. That's hard to find. When you find that, that's the only thing you need to care about in business. I mean, if you find that, dump the gas on the fire, take the lighter fluid and just pour it all over the fire, because that's all you need. Trust me on that. But what you would want to do, for example, if someone says, they're starting that barbershop like I had in that other example, already you know that the demand is there, right? People's hair needs to get cut. Barbershops are everywhere around the entire world. You don't need to prove that part of it. What you need to prove is your variation on it the one that's going to work? So in those types of businesses, you have a local market. And so you need to say, well, are there 17 barbershops down the street? Maybe that's the wrong location, right? Is there enough demand contextual to my location? That's a really important question for a local business, obviously. So, in my area of San Diego right now, I actually see a lot of potential opportunity for a craft coffee shop, a craft beer place, a craft gastropub. I don't see a lot of that here. I see the interest going up. I see no real companies offering it. And that's where you say, okay, well, I already know all those businesses make sense. They exist all around the world again. And this place is hungry for it and no one's giving it to them. So that would be a great example. When you go back to the barber shop, you say, look, go on Google Maps, see where all the barbershops are in your area and see where there isn't one and see if there's a good reason why there isn't one. If you can't find a good reason, if there's a lot of apartments around there or something and there's just not a barbershop there yet, that might be a good place to try to get started. Now, I'm a big fan in business of keeping your expenses really low, validating cheaply, and not over-investing before you really see some traction. When you see traction, pedal to the metal, drop the dollars. But before you see traction, you need to keep it low. Keep your investment low, keep your risk low, and just tipsy-toesy into the pond and see what's going on. So if we're going back to that barber example, I would say go to that apartment complex, for example, and I would throw a flyer up and I'd say, yo, discount haircuts for first-time customers, 50% off haircuts. And, my name's Kevin. It's Kev's Barbershop. Call. It's in-house only right now at my place. I do it in-house. No rent. Keeping your expenses low. And, call me, text me, book online, right? See if you can get 10, 20, 30 haircuts. If you can get that. With haircuts, it's a longevity thing. You get someone cutting your hair that you like, unless you're moving, you're staying with that person. That's what I do. I stay with that person. So that's the way I would think about proving out demand. Now, the question in the comments was, how do you know if you're going to be able to compete with Supercuts or another barbershop? Now, this is where people really have a hard time understanding this, but different service levels exist for a reason. Some people want to pay nothing for a haircut. Like, for example, my brother, he wants to pay $8 max, $10 max, and he doesn't really care what his hair looks like. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what he wants to do, and that's what makes him happy. And so he goes to a Supercut style place. Now, there's a lot of people in the market of haircuts that don't want to do that. They want to pay $25. They want to get a lineup. They want to at least have a better say in shaping how the hair turns out. They want to get a little product in at the end. They want to get a little aftershave, whatever, right? Now that's one market. Now there's demographic markets, right? So there's different types of demographics for the barbershops that you need to think about. Then after that, you've got stuff like, okay, well, am I going to offer a premium experience? Am I going to go for the $50 barbershop cut? That's expensive for a barber. Now, is there enough demand for that? Certainly there's people that want to pay it, but what are you going to give them for the 50 that's going to make them pay it? And is it in the right area that they're going to pay that, right? So you got to think about that kind of stuff. So you have to say, okay, well, for $50, I better be walking in and you better know my name right away. You better have memorized from the last time what kind of cut I got, right? If I was a barber, I'd have like a customer book and I'd be like, oh, Kev's coming in. Oh, he likes it this way, right? So I wouldn't even have to ask. I'd say, hey, anything different? Because here's what we did last time. And I'd be like sitting in the chair like, whoa, this guy knows what's up, right? I'd have a sparkling water. I'd have a beer or a cocktail or something like that, right? A little Manhattan, whatever. I'd have something like that. Nice decor, good vibes, good music, good conversation. Like, you're not buying the haircut at that point. You're buying the experience. That's what people don't understand about luxury or high end. If it's a service, you're buying the emotions of having the experience of that service, right? If it's a product, you're buying the quality typically of the product. Now, sometimes you are buying the brand and like, for example, if you're buying an Apple product, the specs of the actual hardware are equivalent or worse a lot of the times than a much cheaper Android or Windows product, but you're buying the packaging, you're buying the software, you're buying the brand, you're buying the fact that the UI is fun to use for you, all that kind of stuff. So these are sort of questions to ask yourself when you're sussing out the demand for a product or service. You need to ask, am I in the right location if it's location based? We didn't really talk about how to suss out demand for a thing that doesn't really exist yet. Mostly because most things already do exist in one form or another. There are ways to validate online. So if you have a product that you want to validate online, you can set up a simple landing page and try to pre-sell or get pre-orders for something. So, I have a friend who did this with bone broth. He has a very huge bone broth company now. And what he did is he set up a landing page and he tried to sell organic bone broth. And then he actually got orders. He got like 100 orders, running some Google ads to it. And he said, whoa, like people actually really want this organic bone broth. This is before organic bone broth was even a thing. And so then he said, yo, let's make it. And there you go. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Drop a comment and tell a friend. Peace out.